Okay, right now it seems to be working. I'm afraid to move anything, but we're going to go ahead and give this a post here. All right, so the correct answers for your review pages, let me get this straight, are as follows. All right, number one, the Earth's revolution, make sure you don't confuse those two, takes 365 days. Why does the moon appear to move from the east to the west? Because Earth is rotating. On the test, if you just say moving, I'm not going to give credit for that. You must use science terms. Predict what would happen to the seasons of the world if the axis tilted in the opposite directions. The seasons would happen. I think I'm going to go to a darker pen here. Would happen at opposite times of the year. Like our summer would be in December. What is a constellation? That's just a vocabulary word. That's a star pattern. What layer of the sun gives off the light energy we see? This is not going to be on the test. I'm just letting you know. I'm not going to ask you about layers of the sun. Same thing with here. What do prominences and solar flares both have in common? They are both eruptions off the sun. That you could say a flare is a bright spot, but a prominence looks like a ribbon. But I'm not going to ask you specific questions about the sun for your test. List the inner planets in order of distance from the sun. So in other words, from the sun, they want the closest ones. So my very educated mother. Okay, so we got Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. What are the outer planets? I don't really think this covers it as well. They just talk about how far away Uranus is from Venus. If you wanted to know the right answer here, it asks you how many times farther. So they're asking you how many times farther is Venus, which is 108 million. How many times do you have to multiply Venus to get Uranus's distance, which is 2.8 billion? So that would be billion, and that would be a million, and this would be thousands, and this would be your units. So you learned in math that you can get rid of some of these zeros. So now you're down to what times 108 equals 2,800. If you had a calculator, you could just maybe do this, but some kids start punching in numbers. I just think of this problem right here. What times 3 equals 6? So you know that's 2. How would I get to using these two numbers? 6 divided by 3 going the other way. So I just have to push in 2,800 divided by 108, and you'll get something that rounds to about 25 times. What are asteroids, meteors, comets, and moons? Explain the difference between them. Remember, let's see, comets are primarily ice. The others are made of rock. Let's say asteroids stay in place. A meteor touches Earth's atmosphere, and a moon go around, or moons go around planets. So that's kind of like a basic. How do objects move in space? Think about what you've learned about the solar system. Why would it be difficult for humans to travel to visit planets that you've learned about? Okay, why that would be so hard is it takes lots of time. That's our number one. Takes too much time. You have to spend almost, lots and lots of your life. And then the last ones here is Earth and other planets closest to the sun are made mostly of rock. This one was a difficult one unless you drew your attention to this idea of outer planets. Outer planets, it would just be a probe. We haven't used any of these others on the outer planets. Show the inner planets correctly from the farthest from the sun. So you might think there's no right answers here, but it's telling you to go from the asteroid belt toward the sun. So A would be the right answer. What type of object is abundant between the Mars and Jupiter? That's the asteroid belt. My answer key in my book is actually wrong. They're calling this the revolution. This is actually Earth's rotation, day and night. If I were to ask you what season is it here, what would you say? You would say it was the winter because you could tell by the way the Earth was tilted. Some people say it's summer because it's facing the sun. Well, we have day and night in winter also. We got to be looking at here. If I ask you where would it be at the dot, you would say it would be summer down here because they're tilted toward the sun. Suppose you're an astronaut taking a trip to the moon. Write about what you would see when you arrive. Include what you see on the surface of the moon and what you see in the sky. So obviously you would see Earth in the sky, and the sun would be still there in the sky. I would see craters. On the surface. Okay, so when I ask you to study on Wednesday, if you want to cut these planets out, if you want to, you don't have to write them, but you can answer the questions on the back of them. That would be a nice way to study. And then read through this and make sure that you could say, well, did I know what this is telling me here? Because some of it, a lot of the test is an application, not just go and pull it out of the book. Okay, so I got that to work. Yay! I'll talk to you, or I'll post something maybe tomorrow. Okay, so let's see if we can get it there on there.